Mexico is setting world records, and its currency, the peso, is to blame for this. Yes, the Mexican mega peso, one of the few that has strengthened against the dollar, has been among the strongest currencies in recent years. The value of all other currencies, including the Chilean peso, Colombian peso, Brazilian real, and euro, has declined significantly in comparison to the dollar in recent years. The Mexican peso, however, has not. Here in this graph you will see how many pesos $1 costs. As you will see, currently $1 is equivalent to 17 Mexican pesos, while at the end of 2023 it was almost 20 pesos for $1. And if we go even further back, during the pandemic $1 was equivalent to 25 pesos. Since the Mexican peso had the best performance of any currency over the previous 12 months, it is well known throughout the world for its strength. However, a few crucial queries are raised in this instance. First, what is the cause of the Mexican peso's strength? And second, will the peso keep strengthening versus the dollar? Because not everything that glitters is gold, as with everything else in life, be sure to watch the entire video. Let me start by asking you a question. Did you know that saving money in dollars only yields a 5% annual interest rate, whereas saving money in pesos from Mexico yields a 12% yearly interest rate? Yes, the interest rates for both savings accounts and loans are set by central banks around the world. In the United States, central bank interest rates are currently around 5%, while in Mexico, central bank interest rates are 12%. This means that you will receive 5% interest as a shareholder if you purchase government bonds to invest in U.S. debt. Treasury bonds in Mexico, on the other hand, pay close to 12%. This led to a massive influx of foreign currency into Mexico, particularly from Americans. This is logical. The high level of interest in Mexico is preferred by investors. And as a result, they unavoidably have to purchase Mexican pesos, which raises the price of pesos by increasing demand for the currency. You might be wondering why the Mexican central bank offers such high interest rates at this point. Well, combating inflation is the main motivation. The Mexican central bank reduces capital inflow into the economy by increasing central bank interest rates, which also make debt in the economy much more expensive. Less capital inflows cause businesses to cut down on spending and scale back on growth, which lowers demand for goods and services. Since prices of all goods decline gradually when demand declines, inflation often declines along with it. As you will see in this chart, inflation in Mexico has come down dramatically and is now hovering around 4%. The Mexican peso's strength against the dollar is thus primarily due to this. However, there are other factors that are also crucial, including Mexican exports and remittances. When it comes to exports and production, Mexico is a superpower. Yes, Mexico is among the global hubs for factories producing automobiles and electronics. It's natural to assume that everything produced in factories and exported originates from China, and while this is often accurate, Mexico has recently been a significant supplier of electronics and autos to the United States. For instance, there are tens of thousands of maquiladoras in the border cities of Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez that export large-scale goods to the U.S. Mexico has also been a popular location for companies as geopolitical tensions between the United States and China have increased. The Mexican peso has strengthened as a result of numerous factories deciding to relocate from China to Mexico in recent years. Because businesses must purchase pesos in order to build factories and pay salaries, this strengthens the peso by raising both the demand for and the price of the currency. Additionally, these firms get paid in dollars, which are converted to pesos, when they ship their goods to the United States. Once more, this raises demand for pesos, which raises the Mexican peso's value relative to the US dollar. If you are enjoying this video and want to be aware of new videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. So the Mexican peso has gotten stronger as a result of exports and the expansion of factories there. But immigration is the final significant factor in the strength of the super peso. Yes, millions of Mexican families living in the United States send money to their family members back home. These are the well-known remittances, which constitute a significant source of revenue for Mexico. Workers in the United States have remitted a record amount of money back to Mexico despite the strong peso. Here in this graph you will see remittances per month to Mexico. As you will see, this figure has reached $5.5 billion in the month of June 2023, a record never seen before. If we multiply this figure by 12, this means that more than $66 billion would enter Mexico in the next year in the form of remittances alone. That figure is so large that it is equivalent to the economy of Panama. Remittances are sent in dollars, which are delivered and must be converted to Mexican pesos before being utilized. Once more, this increases both the demand for pesos and the value of the Mexican peso relative to the US dollar. These three reasons account for the strength of the Mexican peso: rates of interest, exports of goods made in Mexico, and record remittances. What will happen to the Mexican peso in the future is a significant question that now arises. Now, this is the area where there is disagreement. While some analysts predict that the peso would continue to appreciate versus the dollar, others disagree. It's critical to stress that, despite its current strength, the peso is still lower than it was earlier before we begin this research. Here in this chart you will see the value of the peso against the dollar. As you will see, in the pandemic years, a dollar was worth almost 25 Mexican pesos, and today it is around 17, but before the pandemic a dollar was around 19 pesos. So yes, we are in a better situation today. But if we go even further back, in 2014 a dollar was equivalent to 13 Mexican pesos. Since 2016, the peso plummeted against the dollar for various reasons that we will not go into today, so the peso is still weak against its historical levels. But now let's look at the forecast going forward. This chart shows that the peso has already reached its strongest point. Going forward, it will devalue against the dollar and reach 18 pesos to the dollar by 2024. Even so, we have to be skeptical and think beyond that. I think the peso will keep becoming stronger against the dollar. The Federal Reserve's interest rate decisions are largely to blame for this. In order to combat inflation, the Federal Reserve boosted interest rates at the major banks. Currently, bank interest rates in the US are over 5%, while inflation is around 3%. Therefore, the Federal Reserve is expected to start lowering interest rates late this year or early next year. Lowering interest rates should cause the dollar to appreciate against all other currencies, giving the Mexican peso even more strength. Let's now examine the Bank of Mexico, though. The disinflation process is moving along, although inflation is still high, according to recent statements from the Bank of Mexico. Additionally, there is a great deal of ambiguity regarding the future prospects. That implies that they will maintain high interest rates until a huge event occurs. A quick decline in inflation or a sharp slowdown in the economy would both be noteworthy. I don't think that will happen, thus I predict that the Mexican peso will rise more this year and likely hold its current value next year. What do you believe will happen to the Mexican peso in the future? Will it still be so strong versus the dollar, in your opinion? Post your thoughts in the comments section.